The Shadow That Stayed, A Cat's Stoic Tale, by Stoiccat. The night Clara left, the air in my coastal shack hung heavy with salt and silence, the kind that presses into your bones. I was 33, sprawled on a sagging couch that still smelled faintly of her lavender shampoo, staring at the cracked window where Luna, my black and white stray, perched like a sentinel. Her steel-gray eyes glinted in the dim streetlight, tail flicking slow and deliberate, a metronome counting down my unraveling. An hour earlier, Clara's suitcase wheels had squeaked across the warped floorboards, her voice a quiet blade as she'd said, "I'm done waiting for you to grow up." The door clicked shut behind her, and though my body stayed rooted, my mind chased her down the gravel road, replaying every text, every fight, every moment I let slip through my fingers. Luna didn't budge, just watched the empty street, her stillness a stark contrast to the storm inside me. I'd always been a chaser of jobs I didn't want, dreams I didn't fight for, Clara's love I didn't deserve. She'd been my tide, pulling me through the muck of a life I'd half-lived, her laugh a buoy, her touch a shore. Now she was gone, and I was adrift, drowning in questions. What went wrong? Did she care? Has she already moved on? My phone sat dark on the coffee table, tempting me to text, to beg, to claw her back. I'd done it before, flooding her inbox with pleas she'd ignored, scrolling her posts for scraps of her life, convincing myself she was happy without me while I crumbled. Luna shifted then, leaping down from the sill with a soft thud, padding to her bowl. She sniffed the stale kibble, turned away, and climbed the bookshelf instead, settling into a sun-faded patch like the absence didn't faze her. I envied that, her calm, her indifference. What if she's losing sleep over me, and I'm the fool breaking myself? That thought flickered, fragile but sharp, and in the quiet, I decided to stop chasing. Not just Clara, but the ghosts I'd let define me. Luna, with her feline grace, would show me how, and the Stoics, those ancient voices I'd found in a battered attic book, would tell me why. The first days without her were a furnace, the pain a relentless blaze searing through me. Rejection weighed on my chest like a stone, betrayal stung like salt in a cut, and the empty space on the couch gaped like a wound I couldn't stitch. I'd sit there, Luna curled at my feet, her purring a low hum against the chaos in my head, replaying every moment. What did I do wrong? Was I not enough? Is she with someone else? The hurt consumed me, whispering I'd never climb out, urging me to text her, to beg, to drown in the wreckage most men never escape. I'd seen them, friends who'd shattered under heartbreak, pleading into the void, stuck in a past they couldn't release, hoping she'd come back. I nearly joined them, my hand hovering over the phone, ready to spill my guts. But Luna didn't break. She'd nose at the door Clara had left through, her whiskers brushing wood, then turn away without a sound, leaping to the bookshelf to nap in a sunbeam like the loss was a breeze she could shake off. Her stillness hit me harder than my own noise, and I remembered a line from Marcus Aurelius I'd scrawled in that attic book. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Pain wasn't my enemy. It was my teacher, a raw material I could forge into something stronger. Warriors of old, Spartans, samurai, gladiators, didn't flee suffering. They embraced it, let it harden them into legends. Luna lived that too. She didn't mourn the empty bowl or yowl for scraps. She hunted shadows, her claws clicking on the floorboards with purpose. I chose the fire over the fall, put down the cigarettes I'd smoked to numb the ache, laced up boots at dawn, and ran the cliffs until my lungs burned with salt air. Picked up a pen, not for Clara, but for me, scribbling stories that bled onto the page, jagged and real. Pain was temporary, a storm that would pass. Weakness was a choice I refused to make. Luna watched, her steady purr a rhythm to my rise, and I sculpted myself from the ashes, not for Clara's regret, but for my own power. Chasing had been my trap, texts piling up like unanswered prayers, double taps on her posts a lifeline to nothing. Every plea pushed her further, every word a shovel burying me deeper. Luna didn't chase. One stormy night, I'd forgotten her food, the pantry bare, and she didn't claw or cry. She vanished to the roof, silent as a shadow, leaving me to wonder where she'd gone. Her absence was a weapon, sharper than any protest, and I stole it for myself. I stopped texting Clara, stopped scrolling her life, went dark. Not a word, not a whisper. No begging, no breadcrumbs, just a void where I'd been. Most men panic when a woman walks away, flooding her phone, overanalyzing every silence, trying to fix what's shattered. They validate her exit, make it easy for her to leave without a backward glance. Luna taught me otherwise. Disappear and the game shifts. The human mind hates uncertainty. Claire'd expect me to crumble, to prove she still held me. By vanishing into the cliff's roar, the page's ink, the shack's salt-soaked quiet. I'd leave her with a question. Why isn't he chasing? Her certainty would crack, not because I'd fought, but because I'd stopped. Silence was my power, louder than any words I could have screamed, and I wielded it not to feed her ego, but to reclaim my peace. She'd expect me to shatter, tears staining the couch, rants echoing off the walls, a man unmoored by her absence. Most are slaves to that churn, anger texting at midnight, sadness pleading for closure, loneliness chasing shadows. Luna wasn't. One dawn, a gull swooped down and snatched a fish scrap from her paws. She didn't hiss or lunge, just sat, licked a paw, and watched it fly off, her steel eyes unshaken. The most dangerous one isn't the loudest. It's the one who feels nothing. Marcus's voice rang again. You have power over your mind, not outside events. I felt the hurt, sharp as a blade, real as the salt air, but I didn't let it rule me. No desperate calls, no late-night posts to prove I was fine. I ran harder, the cliff's wind scouring my lungs. Wrote fiercer, my pen carving truths into the page. Met her ghost with a nod and kept moving. Emotional control wasn't cold. It was fire refined into steel. Clara wouldn't crave the wreck who begged. She noticed the man who stood tall without her, unshakable, a force she couldn't rattle. Luna perched high, unbothered by the gull's theft, and I mirrored her, magnetic not for what I did, but what I didn't. Mastery was my allure, and I wore it quiet. She'd think I was still hers, pining by the window, waiting for her tide to pull me back, a shadow on her shore. Neediness kills tension. I'd learned it the hard way, clinging to her every word like a lifeline, only to watch her drift further. Luna didn't care. When I'd leave for hours, hauling crates at the docks, she wouldn't rush to me on return. Just yawn, stretch, climb the sill, her indifference a crown. Women don't chase men who need them. They chase men who don't. I let go, stopped checking her stories, stopped hoping she'd call, stopped caring if she'd ever look back. Took a dock job, hard, honest work, my hands callousing, my mind clearing with every crate I stacked. Luna hunted alone, her claws tapping the roof at dusk, indifferent to my comings and goings, and I lived it, head high, no glance over my shoulder. Clara wouldn't chase a waiter. She'd chase a mystery, a man who'd slipped her grasp. Why doesn't he care? That doubt, that tension would tug at her. Not because I played a game, but because I'd freed myself, my path forward, my energy mine. Energy doesn't lie. She'd assume I was stuck, replaying us in the dark, haunting her digital wake, waiting for a sign she turned back. Luna moved on fast. When I swapped her old mat for a cardboard box, she didn't linger, just claimed the new throne with a flick of her tail. She can feel when you're free. I stopped watching Clara's life, stopped waiting for her texts, ran the cliffs at dawn, wrote by lantern light, laughed with dockhands over cheap beers after shifts. My energy shifted forward, not back, a tide she couldn't pull. Weeks later, my phone buzzed. "Hey, how you holding up?" Not chance. Clara felt it, the absence of my orbit. Luna didn't flinch at the old mat's loss, her steel eyes fixed on the now. I didn't reply. Not yet. My life roared on, a current she'd sense, unsettled by a man no longer tethered to her shore. I'd wasted nights drafting apologies. I've changed, I swear. Useless words she'd never read. Luna didn't apologize when she clawed the couch, just sat atop it, regal, owning her chaos. Success is the only response. Clara didn't need my promises. She'd see me thriving without her. I didn't need revenge. Marcus's "the best revenge is not to be like your enemy" rang true in the shack's quiet. Doc Pay bought a typewriter, my fingers hammering out stories that stacked like driftwood. My frame hardened from labor, my breath steady from words. No spiteful posts, no jabs, just me, rising, proving it to myself, not her. One day, she'd hear I'd sold a piece, see me steady on the docks, and no, he's not the man I left. I didn't care if she did. Success was my apology, my mirror, my truth. She'd expect me to wait. Most men do, lingering like gulls over scraps, watching her sail away while they rot on shore. Luna didn't. When a storm flooded her bowl, she didn't pot me for help. She vanished to the roof, a ghost in my world, leaving me to wonder. I followed her lead. No texts, no calls, no hint of my shadow. Complete disappearance. Not a game, but growth beyond her reach. Clara checked my silence, asked the dockhands, find nothing but echoes. Why isn't he there? The mind craves answers. I gave none, outgrowing her with every cliff I ran, every page I filled. She'd feel the panic, maybe, but I wouldn't know. I wasn't looking back, my energy mine, my path uncharted. She'd pretend not to care, act unmoved, her life a smooth sea without me. But Luna knew eyes followed. She'd perch high, ignoring my calls, and I'd feel her absence like a tide receding. Clara was the same, watching, even if she wouldn't admit it. A dockhand let slip she'd asked, "He's still around?" She'd scroll my silence, dig through mutual threads, wonder why I wasn't broken. Curiosity outlasts love. I moved in silence, wrote by the shack's lone bulb, ran the cliffs at dusk, lived without her gaze, and let her feel the void. No reaction, just rise. She'd text one day, "Hey, you okay?" And I'd smile, not because I'd won, but because I'd moved too far to care. I'd crave her nod once, her laugh, her good job, a lifeline I'd clung to until it snapped. Neediness sank me, every plea of weight pulling me under. Luna didn't seek, climb the sill, own her space, let me come to her with fish or nothing. Marcus's voice cut through. We care more about their opinions than our own. I stopped, lived for me, not her. The dock's rhythm steadied my hands. Ink flowed from my pen. Luna's per anchor my nights. Self-worth radiated. I didn't beg, so I shone. Clara'd regret the man who chose himself, not the waiter she'd known, but I wasn't seeking her approval anymore. I was the prize, my own standard, untouchable by her tide. Holding on had been my cage, half-open doors, half-dead hopes, a tether to a past I couldn't release. Luna didn't cling, left the old map behind, took the box, moved on with a flick of her tail. Letting go is power, the final test. I closed Clara's chapter, not with anger, but choice, a door I locked myself. Took the lessons, the pain, the growth, and built a life too full to look back. Ran the cliffs until my legs burned. Wrote until the typewriter clacked like a heartbeat. Lived with Luna's quiet beside me. She'd feel it, maybe chase the text last week, can we talk? But I'd be free, unstoppable, a man who'd passed the test. I didn't reply, not spite, just peace. My shack hummed with purpose, my shadow stayed, and I rose. A year later, Luna sits on the sill, her steel eyes tracing the dusk, while I write by the window, the sea a low roar beyond the glass. Clara's text lingers unanswered, a ghost I don't haunt. The docks pay steady now, my stories pile up, soul or not. I write for the rhythm, not the reward. Luna leaps down, brushes my leg, her purse soft-tied, and I know this was never about her. It was about me. I'd stopped chasing Clara, ghosts, approval, and life turned, the world leaning in. Pain forged me, silence armed me, mastery drew me forward. She'd lost me, not the other way around, but I didn't need her to see it. I chose me, always, and that was the power Luna had shown me all along, a cat's stoic tale written in shadow and steel.